Okay, we're going to begin today's August 22nd Board of County Commissioners for Adams County, Colorado, public hearing. Will you please have a roll call?
Commissioner Henry,
Here.
Commissioner Tedesco,
Here.
Commissioner Pinter,
Here.
Commissioner Odoracio,
Yes.
Commissioner Baca.
All right, if I'd ask that everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
And we'll vote. And the agenda is approved. Moving on to awards and presentations. Today we would like to start with a proclamation. August is Child Support Awareness Month, and child support plays a crucial role in ensuring that children have access to the resources they need to grow, to develop, and to thrive. It also helps lift children out of poverty and provides them with a better chance at a successful future. We ask that Commissioner Pinter please read the proclamation into the record.
Yes, thank you. This is Child Support Awareness Month, August 2023. Whereas Adams County recognizes that every child matters and joins the nation in recognizing August as Child Support Awareness Month. And whereas child support is a vital source of income for households in Adams County, and many of those households are low-income families. And whereas Adams County applauds the parents who support their children and make child support payments consistent to care for them. And whereas strengthening families improves the lives of children by promoting their safety and well-being and provides economic security. And whereas child support professionals are important assets to the county, working in collaboration with parents and other community partners to ensure children and families receive quality services. And whereas it is important to increase public awareness of the child support program through the outreach and education to reinforce that all parents must take responsibility for their financial, emotional, and physical support of their children. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Adams, the State of Colorado, proclaims August 2023 as Child Support Awareness Month and encourages all citizens of Adams County to work together to make our children's future stable and bright. And this is signed by all of us.
I'd like to invite Dee Dee Green and Katie McDouglas to the podium. Dee Dee is the Child Support Administrator with Adams County Human Services, and Katie is our Director of Human Services. It's McDougall, sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for recognizing Child Support Awareness Month. As one of your lines in the proclamation says, we have 54 team members within our child support group who works really, really hard every day to connect parents with resources to be able to best support their children. And so thank you for taking the time to recognize that today. And I'm going to turn it over to Dee Dee.
Good morning, Commissioners. I also would like to thank you for taking the time to recognize Child Support Awareness Month. I would also like to take the time to recognize my team, my customer support service team, my intake team, modification establishment, enforcement, accounting, and also our county attorney team. When I watch them doing their work day to day, I look at the passion, the hard work, their eagerness to learn, the teamwork, the way that they support each other, and come together to problem solve when we come up against obstacles, and to support the families and get the kids what they need to thrive. So thank you very much, and thank you to Child Support.
We have members of the child support team here?
Oh, they're hard at work.
They're
They are
working.
hard at work.
Right, okay. We want to thank you. Thank you very much, both of you, for all you're doing and the support from your team. Any other comments from commissioners? Commissioner Pinter.
Thank you so much. We do this every year, and it's always encouraging to see all of you hard at work to help families make the difficult calculations around child support and splitting family assets so that the children have what they need to be able to thrive. Growing up in a single-parent household where we didn't get child support for many years on end, it left us very food insecure, very housing insecure, and created a lot of challenges in our educational pathways. And so I know how important it is from personal experience to help both parents step up and share their assets with their children. And I want to thank you for all the work that you do to make sure that, to the best of our ability, and the children have what they need and the parents are communicated with so they understand the calculations. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all of your support.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner Pinter, for sharing that. Okay, we're going to move along. At this point, we also have the opportunity for public comment for citizens. Do we have any citizens signed up?
We do not.
Okay. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak that did not get to sign up? Nobody rushing down to the front. Do we have any elected to communications from elected officials? And none. Okay, we're moving on. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
We'll vote on that. That passes unanimously. Next up, the county manager, new business, no new business from the county manager? Okay, county attorney.
Good morning, Commissioners. I would ask that we go into executive session today pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 246402-4B for the purpose of receiving legal advice regarding the York Street remediation.
Okay, we have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, and that passes unanimously. Next up is the land use hearing. I think we're going to take a 5-minute recess to allow you guys to get set up. And then we'll have the hearing, and then we'll do another recess for the second set. Thank you. All right. We're going to reconvene the land use portion of the public hearing. Let's begin.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Greg Barnes with the Adams County Community and Economic Development Department. And now I'm ready to present the Fry Hatchery case. There are 3 parts to this request. The first part is a rezoning application. It would change the zone district designation of 53 acres from agricultural 1 to industrial 1. The second part is a conditional use permit to allow extraction and disposal on the property, which is currently zoned agricultural 1, but potentially would be rezoned to Industrial 1. And then finally, a conditional use permit to allow inert fill operations for reclamation of the site. Let's talk about the background first. So the Board of County Commissioners approved this site for mining and inert filling in May of 2016. 7 years was given to that permit, or those permits, but those permits were also in conjunction with the subdivision application. And there were pretty substantial road improvements that needed to happen as part of that subdivision before the mining operations could commence. The conditional use permits for mining and filling expired or were set to expire in March of 2023. The applicants approached Community Economic Development staff about getting new conditional use permits for another 7 years on the site. That was in January. We informed the applicant that 8 weeks was not enough time to get a new conditional use permit, and if their permits expired, they would be operating illegally. So staff recommended having the applicants pursue minor amendments to the conditional use permits to extend that expiration by an additional 6 months to give them time to work toward these new applications that are before you today. The Planning Commission heard those, or had a public hearing on March 9th to extend those dates and did approve that extension until September 12th. So the applicants are currently operating until September 12th with approved conditional use permits, depending upon the results of the hearings today. In terms of the rezoning, the applicant also expressed in January interest in adding a processing use on the site. So as part of the mining and inert filling operations on the site now, the applicant has resources to, when they extract the material, to process it. And they were looking to use that equipment to import other material onto the site so that they can consolidate their processing uses. The processing uses right now that are occurring are part of the mining operation, but they would be introducing a new use if they imported the material. Processing uses are not permitted in the Agricultural 1 zone district, so staff recommended that the applicant pursue a rezoning to Industrial 1 where that use would be permitted. That would be the only way that the processing use could be introduced onto the site. First, let's look for context as to where this site is located. So it is on the northwest corner of where Monaco Street intersects with 88th Avenue here. It's just to the northwest of I-76. This aerial from 2020 shows mining on the site. It's been occurring for at least since 2018. You can also see there are bodies of water off to the west of the site and a mix of commercial and industrial uses around the site. As I mentioned, the site is currently zoned Agricultural 1. It's shown here in the middle of the screen. And the general area is a mix of Agricultural 1 properties that are larger acreage, and then Industrial 1, 2, and 3 zone districts surrounding the area. There are also some commercially zoned properties just where 88th and I-76 come together. If approved, the zoning in the area would change to this map, which shows Industrial 1 on the subject property. The comprehensive plan in the area has designated a future land use of industrial low. This designation indicates that this area is where the county would like to see light industrial uses, and the Industrial 1 zone district is consistent with that future land use designation. When reviewing a rezoning application, the development standards does list specific criteria for approval. That includes consistency with that comprehensive plan, consistency with the purpose of the development standards, as well as ensuring that the site complies with the minimum Industrial 1 zone district standards, which it does, and then a compatibility to the surrounding area. In terms of the two conditional use permits, we're looking that the use is appropriate for the zone district, that it's consistent with the purpose of the standards, as well as complies with any performance standards for the specific uses. We're looking for harmony, compatibility, any off-site impacts being addressed, that the site has adequate space and a convenient and functional layout. And then specific to the inert filling operation, it must benefit the county, must be consistent with both the development standards and the comprehensive plan, as well as the county's health standards. It will not create traffic congestion or hazards, be compatible to the area, and not negatively affect health and welfare in the community. The applicant did provide a site plan. This area that's in this orange-brown color is the area that still has yet to be mined. So this is about 6 acres. And then the area that is outlined in green here is the area that still needs to be filled. I believe that is 28, although my vision might not be so good. I think it's 28 acres in this area as well. A few images to show you what the site looks like. This was taken on Monaco looking north, Monaco looking south. Off in the distance you can see the interstate. This is looking east across to the areas that were zoned commercially, and this is west into the site. A better view of what the site looks like from the interior portion. So this was taken actually on the site in the center portions toward the stockpiling. During the referral period, we notified all property owners and residents within 1,000 feet. We sent 77 notices, and we didn't get any comments. It's important to note that we didn't get any comments on the amendments as well. Referral agents were notified, but none of them had concerns with these requests. So in summary, staff believes that the request does benefit the county, that the site eventually can be reclaimed if the inert filling and mining continue to take place. The rezoning does advance the goals of the future land use designation, and it's important to note that this operator has no history of violations with the county as well. The Planning Commission heard this case on July 27th. There were no members of the public there to speak for this case. They did ask some questions regarding installation of tracking controls on Monaco, as well as stockpiling height. But ultimately, the Planning Commission recommended approval to you with 18 findings of fact, 19 conditions, and 1 note. And I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for staff? Commissioners? Right. Seeing none, would the applicant like to speak? Noel, can you? Yes, if you could have the applicant speak, and then Mr. Fry, if you want the, there you go. Thank you. You
morning,
guys choose who you
Commissioners.
want to talk, yeah.
Yep. All right, thanks. My name's Joel Bolduc with Albert Fry and Sons. I'm the Land and Environment Manager, and with me is Ben Fry. He's CEO at Albert Fry and Sons. Albert Fry and Sons started in Adams County in 1962, so it's been in operation continuously for 60 years. Ben's grandfather started the business when he converted the family farm to a sand and gravel pit for the construction of Interstate 76. And the operations over the years have provided for the infrastructure of Adams County and the surrounding county areas. The third generation today that's running the business includes 5 siblings, including Ben. At the site, we do mining, and that's done with the processing is 1 crusher and 4 wash screens. The picture on the left is an example of a wash screen where water is being sprayed on the rock to wash the silt off of it. And then there's a crusher on the right to reduce the size of the sand and gravel. The products that are produced are used for infrastructure in housing and roadways, for example. The inert fill operation it consists of 2 aspects. One is, for example, just dirt, regular dirt. When you build a house and you dig out the basement, that material needs to go somewhere, and if it can't be used on site, it would be brought to a site like ours here, and that's what we call inert fill. Also, there's vac trucks where there's digging that's done in the water table. You'll end up with dirt and water mixture, and those vac trucks will come and dump their material on site as well. Some of the best practices that we implement regarding inert fill, 3 items. The first one is we have a muncher that is shown in the middle picture there, where the concrete chunks, for example, are reduced in size. And then also we put a compacted shell liner around the perimeter of the site, and it's shown in the picture on the right there. The gray material is the liner. And then finally, when material is placed within the inert fill, we do it in lifts, so it allows for good compaction. This is a picture of the reclamation map. And basically what we're going to do is reclaim the site so that the elevation of the eastern 2/3 of the site is level with Monaco Street. And the west side is within the floodplain, and so fill will not be placed there above the floodplain level. Our biggest challenge at the site is track out, and this is a relatively recent issue. Over the years, we've had aggregate trucks coming and going, and they stay on the gravel roads and do not contribute a lot to track out. However, inert fill trucks, which are more recent in the last year, they go off the gravel roads and throughout the site and have more of a tendency to pick up mud on their tires. Currently today, from the scale to the exit gate is paved. And we have a contract sweeper that comes in 2 times a week to sweep. And then we also have a brush sweeper on site that we run 6 times a week. And then for inert fill trucks, as they're leaving the site, they do not go over the scale. So we do have a vehicle track and containment placed there, also referred to as a tracking pad. And as part of this process, if this is approved, we are going to go ahead and pave the exit so that the inert fill trucks will also cross 400 feet of pavement before they exit onto Monaco Street. Thank you.
Is there anything from Mr. Fried that you'd like to say?
We'd like to thank you for your time, and also from the standpoint of us being involved in Adams County, we love doing business in Adams County.
Thank you, Mr. Fry. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, I have a question for staff, and then the applicant might need to weigh in on this. We've seen over the years that a lot of these reclamations occur, and there's a standard of reclamation required by the state, but that doesn't necessarily equate to the standards of the land as it's left for development in the future. And I have concerns about every single one of these moving forward. How do we make sure, and I'm going to ask that we put something in here or point to where it is in the conditions here. How do we guarantee or require that the standards of reclamation at the end don't meet some substandard for development? And what I mean by that is, historically, the state requires reclamation to get to a certain point. But then over and over again, we have these fills, we have these gravel pits, we have these operations that are just empty. Either they're just bodies of water or they left as weeds out there in the community. And when asked why doesn't somebody develop to meet the ongoing vision that we have in the comp plan for that area, they're like, well, the soils aren't good enough. So how do we fill that gap, and how are we making sure that doesn't happen here?
Good question, Commissioner. So the applicant has committed to filling this gravel mine with structural fill, which means that it would be placed in such a manner that it could be constructed upon in the future. That's very difficult for our inspectors to confirm during inspections because it's something that would need to be verified on a daily basis as fill is coming in. So I think that we do hear from a lot of gravel mine operators that are filling that that's what they intend to do, but it's very hard for us to confirm that that's being done. So in the case here, that he's committing to doing that in the future.
Which condition is that stated in?
I don't believe we have a specific condition that states that, but that was in their application packet.
Understood. So I'd like to add it as a condition. Mr. Fry, I want you to make a lot of money when you're done with this project, to sell the land and use it and build on top of it. My concern isn't necessarily with you specifically, but the industry in general has left a lot of land that has been substandard for future development, and then we're left holding the bag of handling somewhat abandoned areas that are not developable. How can you help us address that issue?
That was addressed in our best practices slide. Basically, from the standpoint of the material that goes into the site, because we too want to make money off of the final product, and if it is contaminated or the soils don't work out, it makes it so we have a non-sellable product.
So it's in the slides, and so I guess my question would be for staff, how could we make sure that it's in the requirements? Because I appreciate Mr. Fry's intentions. I appreciate the commitment he's making. How do we make sure that that commitment is enforceable if in the future, let's say Mr. Fry decides to retire and he's no longer the operator, just in case, or you may not have the same Board of County Commissioners here in 7 years. I guarantee you won't have the same Board of County Commissioners here in 3.5 years. Who's counting? So if there's, while you guys kind of mull over maybe some options to address that question of mine, we could go to see if there are other questions on the board for staff or the applicant. Seeing none. Commissioner Pinter.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the crux of my question. I really appreciate the best practices standards that you have outlined in practice. It's just a way for us to memorialize them so we have them in our records as well.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the audience here to speak on this matter? Nobody came to sign up. There's nobody coming down.
We're quiet today.
Let's take a 5-minute recess and then we'll come back. Thanks. You all look more ready than you did 3 or 4 minutes ago. Are we ready to reconvene?
We are just getting the language on the screen here shortly,
Okay,
so
I'll go
just
through the
another-
processes.
Another 1 minute.
Go through the processes. One more time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? No. Do we have any questions or comments from the commissioners? Commissioner Pinter.
Looking through the materials and looking at the map and the work that you're doing, it is obvious that the work is continuing at a steady pace. And I want to thank you for your outreach and your commitment to getting things right. It is a difficult thing. Mining is not an easy neighbor. And I want to also name that I appreciate that you guys are paying close attention to the track out efforts. I'm just noting some of the efforts that you made, internal site street sweeping, as well as in the area and the track pad. So you're including a lot of the efforts that are really necessary to be the best possible neighbor you can be, given how disruptive a mining operation can be to the surrounding neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pinter.
Okay. Commissioner Henry.
I just want to say, I want to thank you for reaching out and giving me a tour. Not necessarily regarding this permit, but in the past. I want to make sure I put that in there. But it was good for me. After 11 years, I've never had anyone that did that for me and gave me a tour and helped me understand the business. And that meant a lot to me. So, and I also know you're Adams County residents, so you do business in the county that you're living in. So I do appreciate that too. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Henry.
Okay. Commissioner Tedesco, anything? Okay. Going to staff. Staff, do you guys have any ideas?
Yes, so after consulting with our environmental team as well as the applicants, we would recommend an additional condition, which would read, I'll read it into the record, the applicant shall have geotechnical engineer inspect and certify placement of structural fill annually, and shall submit a signed certification at completion of reclamation verifying geotechnical engineer has completed said inspections.
If staff and the applicant believe that that would be helpful to make sure along the way that at the end of this process we have a marketable and buildable piece of property, then I can support that. Any questions, comments from the board? No. All right. So we've gone around. Is there anyone who'd like to make a motion? Commissioner Pinter?
Yep, I'm happy to move to approve PRC 2023-12 Fry Hatchery with 18 findings of fact, 20 conditions, and 1 note.
Looks like we have a second from Commissioner Tedesco. Second. Oh. That is approved unanimously. Thank you for working with us, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
This time, we're going to take an 8-minute break, and we will reconvene. 8 minutes. We're gonna reconvene public hearing, the land use portion for the next case.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nick Eagleson with the Community and Economic Development Department. I'll be presenting the Pecos I-76 Industrial Park filing number 8, case number PLT 2022-49, and is located at 6045 LaPan Street. The request is for a subdivision replat, and this is to reconfigure 7 existing lots into 3 lots, and this is on approximately 14.6 acres. A little bit of background, the site does currently consist of 2 separate filings. Filing number 3, which was approved in 2003, and then filing number 6, which was approved in 2002, again located in the Pecos I-76 Industrial Park subdivision, and a subdivision replat is required to reconfigure these parcels to have them all under the same filing, and again consist of 3 total lots. Here's a large aerial view of the site. You can see located here with several parcels outlined. Pecos Street is to the west, I-76 to the north. This is the Pecos Junction Station directly adjacent to the west. LaPan Street is adjacent on the eastern edge, and then you can see I-25 in the distance there. Here's a closer view of the site. Again, with the 7 current parcels outlined, there are 2 small slivers that are real tough to see on the western edge of the site. Again, Pecos Street located west here, I-76 to the north. The current zoning on site consists of Industrial 2 to the north and then Industrial 3 to the south, and as you can see is mainly surrounded by I-1 and I-2 industrial uses. The future land use designation is mixed-use commercial and is surrounded by mixed-use commercial to the north and east, some institutional directly adjacent to the west, and then industrial load to the southeast. Here's a kind of just a clip of their subdivision plat that shows the 3 lots laid out. Lot 1 is to the north here, Lot 2 to the southeast, and then Lot 3 to the southwest. Again, LaPan Street is along the eastern edge here, which is where the lots would take access from. There is a current access easement in place that would allow legal access to Lot 3 to the west. When reviewing the criteria for a subdivision replat, we look to see that it complies with the standards and regulations, as well as any original conditions of approval, that no non-conforming lots are being created, that the replat is in keeping with the purpose and intent of our subdivision regulations, and also that this will not adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. Here's some site photos, top left. All of these are looking from LaPan Street along the eastern property boundary. Top left is looking towards the east at the adjacent property. Top right is looking towards the northwest down LaPan. And then the bottom 2 are looking towards the site. First one on the bottom left here is looking to the southwest. And then this is looking directly south, again on the properties on the right here. During the referral period, we notified owners and occupants within a half-mile of the subject site with 224 notifications being sent. Staff did not receive any public comment, and just wanted to note we did not receive any concerns from referral agencies during the referral period. This did go to Planning Commission for public hearing on July 27th, and there was no public comment at that time, and Planning Commission voted to recommend approval by a vote of 6-0. And staff does believe that this complies with the standards and regulations, and that the replat is in keeping with the purpose and intent of our subdivision regulations. And with that, staff recommends approval of the subject request with 4 findings of fact, and staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Okay, can you go back? What is the final map gonna look like? And what's the zoning of each of those lots?
Lot 1 would remain I-2, and then lots 2 and 3 would be I-3.
Okay, and we don't have any concerns about the future land. How do we think that that's compatible with the future land use map?
So the use on site would remain the same, and this is just cleaning up multiple parcels being located within one filing. So as far as the future land use designation, there wouldn't be any concerns with that, as the use would stay the same.
Okay. All right, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward, please?
Good morning,
Did you want
Commissioners. My name is Diana Caruso Jenkins. I'm with the law firm of Otten Johnson, address 950 17th Street, Denver 80202. I'm here on behalf of the applicant regarding the subdivision replat. Mr. Eagleson covered everything that I believe is important, so I won't add anything right now, but I just want to thank you for your consideration and make myself available for any questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I didn't see that. It sounds like Commissioner Tedesco has a question.
I do. I have a question for staff because there's a remnants of a Superfund site just to the south of this designated property, and I am very curious as to the lines. It almost feels like the lines on this are covering that Superfund site, and what are the designations of that Superfund site, and are they included in this, or what is their interaction with this?
That was not actually something that staff analyzed with the subdivision plat, but that's something we can look at. I do know that this entire area is an old landfill, but that does not have anything to do with the Superfund site that you're talking about.
No. And looking at the map that you have up right now, the Superfund site is adjacent to it, but not part of it. So thank you for the clarification with the map. So the Superfund site that I'm talking about is more to the Huron Street. It's on either side of the Huron Street and then either side of the other roadway. It's a remnant of a larger Superfund site that was reclamated and also part of the company that is now occupying that land on the other side there of the rail track. So I appreciate the map showing the designation of where this is. I don't believe that it would have any impact or not any of that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm confused. Which site is the Superfund site, Commissioner Tedesco? Okay. All right. Any other questions? Commissioner Pinter.
Thank you. And just trying to review the packet and similarly look at the map, I just want to state something to make sure I understand it. It appears that there are multiple small parcels that are zoned I3 that will now be reconfigured, and it's more the parcel size, and there isn't a significant, there isn't a change to the use zoning. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So no new parcels are being added to the I3 footprint?
Correct.
Thank you. That was my question.
Okay. Is there anyone from the anyone else from the audience or public that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we're going to come back to the board for discussion and action. I guess my question still remains is like, so it's still compliant with the future land use map, even though that future land use is mixed industrial? Like, can you go back to the future land use map? So it's mixed use commercial, or is it the industrial one, that institutional? I guess that's different.
It's the mixed use commercial.
Right. And so I3 is acceptable in that?
We would review criteria where it's compliant with the future land use designation, more on like a rezoning with the subdivision replat, with the use continuing and not changing on site. We're not necessarily taking into account the future land use designation for any proposed changes on site as far as the use is concerned.
And so that's not one of the criteria?
Correct. I can pull that.
We can pull up the criteria. Okay. Then do we have a motion?
So I have a follow-up question. I don't, before the motion, and I don't know if one of my colleagues is chomping at the bit, because I've already asked a question.
Go for it.
Just checking in on our criteria. I3 can be really heavy industry. What is the criteria for approving that heavy industry use, and what will be the public comment procedure when those uses are brought forward?
So the zone district is currently I3 on part of the site, part of it's I2. Any uses that are permitted within that zone district would be processed through a change in use permit. There is no public process for that per se. That is just an administrative review by staff to ensure that they're meeting performance standards for that use, in addition to parking and landscaping. If there's any additional use that's being proposed that's conditionally permitted in that zone district, a lot of our more intense uses, recycling, for example, where there's crushing involved. A lot of times those are conditionally permitted. That would have a public process involved. But the zoning is as it is today, and there are a lot of heavier uses that are permitted within the I2 and I3 zone districts.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Thank you for naming that. Are there any active I3 uses on any of these parcels at this time?
Maybe the applicant can talk a little bit more, but currently there's outdoor storage.
Okay.
Which is up to 80% of the lot is permitted without a conditional use permit.
Right. Okay, please come forward.
Thank you. Yes, the mix of uses right now is outdoor storage of truck storage, so trucks that are placed there for some time until they have to be loaded and moved about again. That's on most of the larger kind of parking lot looking parcels. And then there's supportive uses to that use, like a maintenance facility for the trucks, as well as an office. So definitely more in the light industrial type uses.
Okay, thank you. Given our parameters of criteria, I don't have any further questions at this time.
Okay, anyone else? All right, back to the board for action or discussion. Waiting for the, there you go.
The technology needs to catch up with the conversation
right.
sometimes.
Commissioner Henry.
I move for the approval of PLT 2023-49 with 4 findings of fact.
Second.
Okay, there's a vote. Yeah, all right, we got it. That approves unanimously. Good luck with your project. Thank you. Seeing that there's nothing else on the agenda, we are adjourned.